Hello, hi everyone. My name is Tiffany. I work with Johnson Creek Watershed Council as the Community Outreach Coordinator. I am so excited that you're joining us today. We are at Reed Lake. This is actually on the college campus of Reed College. It's a private property, but we're out here. It's open to the public. We're just going to maintain social distancing the whole time and stay on the trail as we kind of show you the history of the lake, explore, see what animals we can find, see what plants we can identify. Right now, take a good look around as we kind of show you the trail. We're down closer to the lake area. We're really excited to be here today. Another fun thing we have going on today, we're going to have a really special guest join us. A local botanist is coming on to specifically tell us more about some of the plants we could ID and some of the stories that go with those plants, and they're going to meet us along as we kind of walk along our journey. So at any point, if you have questions, comments, feel free to comment, question, whatever, and we will answer them as we can. We're really excited to have you guys here, and yeah, we're going to get rolling. So come join us. Beautiful sunny day over down in Southeast Portland. Come on over. Ooh, hey. All right, right now you can see we've got a goose preening. I didn't expect to have our first, animal moment so quickly in the video, but we've got a goose preening down at Reed Lake. It's really beautiful. We're kind of getting down to the wetland area already. There's some mallard ducks, and in this area is actually over 80 species of birds that have been here, that have lived here, and been seen around the lake. This area has a really interesting history. So Reed Canyon actually was declared, it was a wildlife refuge in 1913. And so this entire area has been an active kind of habitat, wildlife, and it's been being restored ever since 1999 is when the restoration started. And the Reed Canyon manager, currently it's Zach Perry, has done a great job working with students and faculty to maintain this beautiful space. So let's keep on exploring, check it out. All right, ooh, got some really beautiful plants. We're kind of going into right now more of the wetland ecosystem, and we have our plant specialist join us.
Hey, what's up, Tiffany?
Hi, I have to stay a little further away from you.
Of course,
but yeah, we're doing our
social distancing.
plant ID. I'm going to let you introduce yourself to our group and kind of share your role today with the council.
Yeah, that was some excellent modeling, by the way.
Yeah.
Hey, my name is Ace Risley. I am a local botanist and plant enthusiast. I'm here to talk to you about some of the plants in the Reed Lake area and some relevant facts about them with Johnson Creek Watershed. So let's begin. If you'd like to zoom in over here, I thought that this was a prime example of wetland plants that you'll commonly find in the Portland area. Over here we have some horsetail. This is a spore reproducing plant. It doesn't have seeds, so it has a more common behavior like ferns than something like a grass here. This is a grass that you'll see all the time in wet areas in Portland. It's really annoying. Some people know it as RCG if you work with it. It's also called reed canary grass. It was brought over as an ornamental, but it really kind of clogs up a lot of streams and wetland areas in the Portland area and the Pacific Northwest in general. Really huge, robust. Not a lot of animals eat it, and as you can see, it also chokes out other plants like this lovely horsetail here. And you will also find some carex growing in the middle here if you'd like to zoom into the center, and you can see they're all sort of fighting for space here. And Reed College does do a lot of maintenance on their plant habitats, and if that didn't happen here, the reed canary grass would surely take over. Unfortunately.
So true.
Yep.
So thanks so much for sharing that, Ace. And Ace is going to pop into our video from time to time, giving us kind of like expert knowledge on plants as we keep walking. I noticed someone just had a comment about where can I park to enjoy this natural area. So Reed College is right now open to the public. They have signs all over that you maintain social distancing, and the trail is one way. So they ask folks to stay on the trail. It actually goes in a loop around this way. There's different places you can park. One of the best ways, I think, is to just on Google Maps, don't necessarily go to Reed College and park in their parking lots, because we don't want to, have the public go in those spaces, but find some street parking nearby. That's one way that you can find a close by spot. I think the best thing would just be to zoom out. Oh, what's happening? That's kind of fun. We have some geese over here. Let's check it out. As we go throughout our video, as we hear wildlife, we'll also kind of pause too to give a moment to check out what we find. Oh, I feel like this is the Steve Irwin moment. Crikey! Crikey! Wait, that's my bad Australian accent. Sorry. So we've found two beautiful. Whoa, there's more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 geese. This area is prime habitat. Geese love it because they don't have a lot of predators who are hanging around Reed Lake. They've got really nice grazing spots, and there's time all throughout the day for shade and sun. So throughout the video, as we kind of find time to stop and check in on our different wildlife, we'll do that too. But yeah, for folks who are looking to come out here, I would say look at Google Maps, find street parking, don't park in Reed's parking lots, and definitely practice social distancing, but it's such a beautiful spot. So yeah, we're gonna keep on walking.
Peregrine Edison wants to know, the trail is one way now, clockwise or counterclockwise?
What a great question. Thanks, Peregrine, for asking. Okay, so I'm gonna try and visualize this right now. So it goes like this, and then it's this direction.
Seems clockwise.
That's clockwise, yeah. I had to take a minute and do a full circle, but that's a great question. I think it's a really great way that Reed College has found something that helps social distancing but doesn't actually kick people off of the property, because it is private property. They could close it if they wanted to. They just ask that folks do the one-way trail, take turns, and not have large gatherings. So yeah, we're gonna keep on walking, and I'm gonna have, or do you want to point something out? I'm gonna have Ace point something out, give them some space.
So while we're still in the wetland plant community, I wanted to talk about some local plants that are actually native and show you them thriving. This is a spirea. It has beautiful like magenta pink flowers that pollinators really love in the late summer, and you'll oftentimes find it growing around natural bodies of water in the Pacific Northwest. Along with down here you have western skunk cabbage. It has most of the time really big yellow blooms that are sort of look like the anthers and calla lilies. And if you come with me over here to this boardwalk, whoa, I can show you one that's in bloom.
Yeah, let's go.
Okay, so if you zoom in down here and unfold these a little, these are the blooms of the skunk cabbage. Pretty cool. These ones over here are a little bit more mature, protruding a little more, and they do have sort of a skunky smell to them when they're mature. And the cabbage name is derived from it having been used by indigenous people and still being used by indigenous people as a food staple. And here's a little fauna here. You have a couple snails enjoying this skunk cabbage as well. Nom, 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 nom. All right, I'll walk ahead.
Are the skunk cabbage stinky yet?
Yeah, they've been stinky a couple of weeks. I smelled one a few weeks ago. I was like, ooh, namesake, hello.
That was Peregrine.
I'm gonna go ahead and walk ahead so that Tiffany can get far behind me.
Great. Yeah, and as we're walking, I'm just gonna share some different things about the canyon too. One other spot that I feel like needs to be acknowledged is the fact that we're going to go to different distinct ecosystems, like riparian ecosystems, wetland, and that Reed Canyon actually has been doing incredible amount of management. So for the past, ever since 1999, they have been doing restoration plans, work plans, and actively working to restore the habitat and plant natives, remove invasives. So this has been hard work. It didn't just happen to be that way. I just want to share that with y'all.
Just two more riparian plants to share too while we're walking next to them. If you've ever been walking in the late summer on a Portland trail and felt little seeds popping around you, it was likely this orange touch-me-not or jewelweed, which is a native that grows specifically around wet areas in the area. And this is a bracken fern, not bracket. Bracken. Lovely.
Bracken.
Beautiful. So yeah, as we're walking, we'll also kind of see the different types of trail they have. So they've done a really cool job doing this like wooden edging with repurposed and recycled wood, creating boardwalks over the space, and then also having kind of natural trail breaks over time that you will see kind of like with these stairs. They definitely put these in as erosion controls and then helping people with steps. Right here, I'm actually going to pause and to the left show you one of the projects. So over here, one really cool thing that Reed Canyon does, and also the whole Reed College campus, is they make sure students are really involved in the projects that are happening. And so this is one project that research students and students who've done different studies have been able to focus on amphibians. So I'm actually not going to move this around too much. It says, hello, thanks for checking, please don't move this. This is for amphibian, and it looks like, yeah, amphibian habitat. And so that way there's more habitat at Reed Canyon. One of the key things I think when you love a space is to make sure you don't love it to death. Quote from Zach Perry, Reed Canyon manager. He's mentioned that, when folks really love an area, sometimes you want to go off trail or go too far. Like that was, an example of getting a little bit to the side here, but just to make sure we stay on trail so that way it can remain a beautiful habitat for wildlife too. So yeah, we're going to keep going. Oh, do you guys want to go ahead of us?
No,
Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, this is a great sign they have about one-way path, and so you can maintain social distancing when you're here. All right, we'll get out of your way. Thanks. Great. So yeah, a lot of folks from the community come out here and enjoy this space too. So throughout the video, I'll make sure I stay far away from other people. And as you walk, you see kind of more horsetail. A lot of the plants that Ace pointed out to us a little bit earlier are also here. And I think one really beautiful thing that they did from an ecologist perspective in this area, and as a botanist, you can see that something really incredible. They've planted different plants close to the ecosystems that they would approximately be in and worked on restoration. So as we keep going, I'm going to give Ace an opportunity to share some more information about some plants.
Hey, so what we have here is a maple. This is a maple tree as opposed to vine maple, which also grows a lot around here. And down here you have snowberry. It's pretty quintessential for Pacific Northwest ecosystems to have a lot of berries near water, since it is a ecosystem that has been adapting to a drought, rain climate consistently. So you'll find berries near water since they need water to grow. Right here is a snowberry. None of these have fruit on them yet, but if you want to zoom down here, I can show you how to recognize the leaves. They look similar to huckleberries, but they have these little thumb sort of margins on them where they have this little bump on a lot of the larger leaves. Salmon berries, once again, are not edible. In fact, they can make you very sick. But that's one that is just volunteering to grow here, I presume. They do tend to success and volunteer in areas very easily. We do have a family coming this way. If we want to step aside.
Great, we're going to give a moment for the other folks to walk by us. Maybe you can look at it. Oh! Hi. Sorry.
Cameraman fell. This is dangerous.
Alright, we're a dangerous game. We'll get in front of you this time and come walk this way.
Okay, wait. Here's some more plants. So, flowers. Everybody loves flowers, I assume. Or a lot of people do anyway. This has been a very good year for these fringe cups. I think they're called Telema grandiflora. But they just have these beautiful, beautiful blooms to them. They're called fringe cups because of this fringe on the edge, and they're also green, and it's hard to see green flowers, and you also just don't see them very often, so they're definitely one of my favorites. They kind of just look like a little fairy wonderland. As you can see when you pan out, they are growing all along the trail side. I love them.
Great. There are some... You go ahead, me.
There's some other berries up this way that I wanted to share too. Oh, so most of us are familiar with the blackberry problem that we have in this region. And not everybody knows that there are also actually native blackberries in this region, such as this creeping blackberry, as opposed to the Himalayan or Armenian blackberry that many of us have had trouble containing in our yards or at work or in whatever context.
Oh, Ace, a question that we get a lot at events. How do you tell the difference between the native blackberry to the invasive blackberry?
Ooh,
do you have a way you could show us?
Yeah, definitely.
On video right now.
Fortunately, I haven't seen a lot of invasive blackberry here. There's some. Oh, look, and you may find. Oh wait, nope, that's the native. Okay.
Well, that's a great sign for the management.
It is. It really is. It's hard to contain blackberry. So, without the other example to show you, it's a little bit difficult, but the native blackberries generally have sets of 3 leaves like this. And the non-native blackberries, they're bigger leaves, they're waxier, and they have 5 leaves actually. Or they'll have the 3 leaves, but it'll look like it should have 5, and the bottom 2 leaves are sort of morphed together. I will try to show you some if I see any, but hopefully we won't.
Okay, great.
Oh, here's another cool riparian plant. This is a slow sedge.
So is that its seed pod that we're looking at on the those far ends?
Yeah, this is the fruiting part of the plant, and it's very hard to identify sedges and carex.
How do you tell the difference between black cap raspberry and trailing blackberry by Drew Donahue?
I believe I could be getting them mixed up, but one of them has like a white powder on the stem and trails, and then the other one kind of grows upward more and has a more robust thorny stem. So that's how you differentiate the two. I'd have to be looking at my notes to say which is which though.
Yeah, that's a great question.
Yeah.
So Ace, I'm gonna let you go a little bit ahead and share some more detail about the canyon.
Right.
Perfect. I'm gonna give Ace about 6 feet before I go in. Okay, great. Yeah, so as we keep on walking, we're going to go a little bit further. I wanted to ask folks, have you been here before? Go ahead and comment, have you been to Reed Lake before? This is a great moment to kind of pan out and be able to see, like, wow, there's, you know, a bunch of geese right now. There's some mallard ducks. You can see most of the lake. There's a walking trail above. This is all around. So Reed's campus is actually just to the left of us. But a lot of folks have never been here before, so I thought I would ask. And feel free also to ask questions if you have any last ones. As we continue to walk too and identify some more plants. But this whole, great, we're just kind of making sure we also leave space for the trail users. This whole area was declared a wildlife refuge in the state of Oregon in 1913. So they've been really doing a great job to manage this private area, also as a wildlife refuge too. So we're gonna let these folks pass by us. Yeah, come on by. I'll turn away. And maybe as we do that, no worries.
Move over to the right.
That's okay.
Sorry.
Thank you. Right, so yeah, we've got a one-way trail, so just make sure we stop for other people. As we go by, you might recognize another study spot. So this is similar for a similar biological study I pointed out earlier that was creating habitat for amphibians. So this is something you may notice, and we don't want to like disturb that or move it around because the whole idea is to create a sheltered space so folks don't be like, oh, look what I found, and pick it up and, you know, actually once again, love a creature to death by wanting to be near it and take a selfie with it, maybe? Let's not do that. No animal selfies today. All right, cool. We're going to keep on going. Identify some plants. If you have a question about plants, feel free to ask.
Zach Perry asks, last free-flowing stream in the city of Portland.
Oh,
never mind.
That's a great question. So Zach Perry, thanks so much. Yeah, he's the Reed Canyon manager. Thanks for bringing this up. That's a really good fact to throw in here. This is the last free-flowing stream in the city of Portland, tributary next to Johnson Creek. And it's spring-fed, it's pristine habitat. We'll kind of take a quick look before we go on. I'm glad that you shared that, Zach. Thanks for mentioning it. It's, you know, a really special pristine habitat that we have here. It's the Crystal Springs Watershed within Johnson Creek Watershed, and the headwaters, you know, are able to kind of flow through and actually create one of the clearest streams that's really good habitat for salmon, coho, we've got other trout and other different types of fish and species that really enjoy living in the water too. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, Zach. And we'll kind of go back. There's one more plant I think Ace wanted to point out to us.
Actually a plant community I wanted to point out. So first I'll share some enthusiasm. If you could back up a little bit and pan to this. So when I was a child and I looked at something like this, it just looked like a bunch of green, and it looked just the same as the place we were previously talking about. But when I look at it now, I see an entirely different plant community, and that makes me so excited. Because this is sort of where we shift out of the riparian plant zone and into something that's more of an ecotone or an edge between the forest and the riparian zone. So I wanted to share one of my favorite local berries with you. First, this is the thimbleberry. It is in the rose family, just like blackberries and raspberries are. And if you look over here, you'll see a beautiful little flower that looks a lot like blackberry flowers. These berries, oh, here comes a runner. Just a sec.
We're just gonna make sure we step aside. Yeah, this is a one-way trail, so we just have to
Get
pause.
a nice close-up on this flower.
Right.
Yeah, so that is a thimbleberry flower, and thimbleberries are amazing. I wouldn't eat them unless you know they are growing in a very safe area. You know how to identify them, and there are a lot growing because as you can see, for this one very large plant, all we have is 4 blooms here, and that is how the plant spreads its genetics. So if you eat one, I do recommend eating one. Please harvest sustainably and eat just one where there's an abundance of them. They're called thimbleberries because they look like thimbles, but they're like fuzzy raspberries. They're really good. I love them.
That's great.
One more thing. Ooh, let me get around.
Okay, why don't you go first?
Okay. This stuff right here. This is called clematis, and it chokes the ecosystems around Portland quite awfully. It has really beautiful flowers, but it grows all over everything, and it vines out, and some of the branches, if they're old, can get like this thick. They're pretty awful.
True Donahue says, I've heard that thimbleberry is considered nature's toilet paper because it's so soft.
Well, yeah, let's test the theory. Oh yeah. I can see why. Also, harvest your toilet paper sustainably in grocery stores and in nature, and not here. Don't go to the bathroom here.
That's great. Thanks for sharing that PSA.
This spot's exciting. This is where I'm going to talk the most, so I'll be done in a second. These are this is a hazelnut tree, which I think is just so exciting that there are hazelnuts growing all over the place here. You have to harvest and process them a very certain way to eat them, but all of the cute little squirrels and chipmunks and things that we see living here really depend on the abundance of these in the area, and I think that they're so beautiful. This is just a baby one though. And I'd like to talk about a what's it called? A Pacific red cedar, because there's a lot of them here and they're really beautiful, and there's one up the trail. So I'll just walk ahead.
Okay, you walk ahead. We'll meet you there in a minute. Thanks, Ace. Great. So we're gonna let Ace get maybe a little bit ahead. Perfect. Just about 6. We're giving 12 feet. Okay, perfect. Hi. Okay, we're gonna walk and just stop again so this other person can pass us. But while we're stopped here, thanks. You can keep going. While we're stopped here, I just wanted to take a minute to also talk about the students' involvement from Reed College in this campus and in this community. So the Reed Canyon manager, he's been organizing students coming out and doing restoration. So they come out and they restore the area looking for invasive species, making sure that the stream habitat is kept really nice, and having restoration projects all the time. So big shout out to students who've worked on the Reed Canyon management team. I know that we've got some staff from Friends of Trees, Hannah, who had worked on their team before. So I feel like that's another thing to share, is that this management is ongoing. And so while we may find invasive species or native species, you know, throughout time, they're always working to restore that space. So yeah, thank you. We're gonna keep on walking. And I don't see anyone else behind us, so it's safe to go. And also, while Ace is pointing out plants and uses, we want to make sure folks don't come here and harvest or use this space for that, because this is a wildlife refuge and a space we have preserved for wildlife and nature and that kind of thing too. So, all right, perfect. So I see Ace up ahead. I'm going to switch off, and I think they're going to check in with us about some different types of trees and species of trees.
So if you want to pan over here, this is a small stand of Pacific red cedar, which is one of my favorite trees. It has this beautiful smooth reddish bark. It tends to bow like this at the bases and in the branches, and it oftentimes stabilizes banks and grows somewhat near water. It's a water loving tree, and that's the reason why you see that growth pattern a lot too, because banks near water tend to slump, and trees that like those banks will adapt to that morphologically.
Yeah, no problem.
If you want to just look at the needles, you're on that. Yeah. They're a quintessential cedar. These little scales is what these are called. And they're needles. And if you come down this way, I wanted to end my contribution to this on a fairly positive note, in that there are a lot of invasive plants that grow in the Portland area because we are a metro area. There aren't a lot of untouched ecosystems here. But for that reason, a lot of the native plants in this area have really adapted to growing in the forests with these plants. So I wanted to show you one, and we'll just barely step over here. I'm gonna pick this because it's an invasive. I wouldn't recommend just picking things here though. You've probably seen this in your yard, and now you've seen it peacefully growing in the forest. This is called Herb Robert, or Stingy Bob, or Robert's geranium, and it grows probably in people's driveways, between sidewalk cracks, basically all over Portland, and it also fits happily here in the forest. Even though it is considered invasive, it's considered established. So that's pretty neat.
That's really great. Yeah. Thanks for sharing that, Ace. And also, I just want to give a big shout out for Ace. Ace is a local botanist who was happy to join this video, and also a friend of mine who I've already been in contact with, so I wasn't going to corona this person. I got to share that.
Yeah.
No humans or plants were harmed in the making of this video.
And I live with the cameraman.
Yeah. Alright, we're going to keep on walking. We're going to end our video in about 1 minute, but I just want to show you this last boardwalk. Really beautiful job on the boardwalk. As you can see, this area has been maintained really well. And one of the last things I wanted to mention is that even though we're in Crystal Springs headwaters, and that's one of the last free-flowing creeks in Portland, and that's something that Zach mentioned in the comments. Here, we're going to keep going so we don't clog these people behind us who are trying to move over. Here, let's move to the side and let these folks pass by. Here, maybe pan that way. Sorry, it's okay. Great. So yeah, I was just going to mention that, all watersheds are kind of like nesting dolls. So one is within another and within another, and a watershed is any area within a mountain range or when all the water is raining down where it meets. So all these things are interconnected, and this is a really beautiful pristine water area through Crystal Springs that is part of the Johnson Creek Watershed, and all of these different areas are connected. So we hope that you're able to come out here, maybe visit safely, make sure you bring a mask just in case as people walk by. I've been turning my face away, making sure that we're, maintaining social distancing in the time of Corona, but then also able to come out and find peace and enjoy nature as well. So just want to give a big shout out and thank you to Ace once again for being in this video, and then also thanks so much for Zach Perry, the Reed Canyon manager, who gave us the okay to make this video and also shared some great comments, and Reed Campus. So thank you guys so much. I hope you have a great day. Last comments or questions before we go? Nope. We're good?
3, 2, 1.
Perfect.
Nope.
Bye, guys.